Laura Secord Secondary School is well known for its performing arts focus. This tradition can be traced back to its first principal, James Smith. Today, the auditorium is being renamed in his honor.
He was offered to set up this school because he has a history in arts and drama and in music. And because of his back history, they knew that he had a foundation for this school.
And how did you feel about being a principal's wife?
Just one of the girls. No problem. Mr. Smith didn't bring his problems home. I knew what was going on in the school, and having two daughters who also attended the school, I did know what was going on in the school, but not the problems. They never came home.
We always knew who he was, and I always grew up being very proud of being his son. But I never had been able to step back and take a look at the totality of his influence and how many people he has touched. And even to this day, when people find out who I am, they'll walk up to me and said, "Hey, you know, when I was a troubled teenager, your dad came and talked to me. And gosh, that was a great service he did to me." Or, "Gee, when I was a young teacher, your father was the one person that came and gave me the support as a superintendent." So even now, just like Jim Bradley said, people walk up and they knew him as a respectful man, and they just liked him.
He was the one who named the school Laura Secord, and he named the teams the Patriots.
So why do you think Mr. Smith had such an influence and still has an influence today?
Because of who, and most importantly, because of what he was. He was everything you would have wanted. He was kind and generous to everybody. I never heard him say an unkind word to anybody. I never heard him lose his temper. And I fished with him for years too, and he just never did. And it was just, he was always there for everybody.
The Smith family connection to this school continues to this day.
When I found out that I'd be teaching at Laura Secord, I was able to come and tell him, and he just lit up and was so proud of anything that I would have done, but it just really made a big deal that it was here that I could work.
What do you remember about him?
I remember his stories and his laugh and his words of encouragement for anything that you did, and his sense of wonder and imagination, and just was always curious about what the grandkids were doing and what we were up to.
Jim Bradley described the former principal as a rare individual that was both loved and respected. What kind of friend was Mr. Smith?
A man with a marvelous sense of humor, a man with true compassion for students. I was involved in education for years. You never heard a negative word said about Jim Smith. Whether they were teachers who had worked with him or for him, whether it was students, whether it was people in the community, the parents and so on, they all had good things to say about Jim Smith because his interest was first and foremost in the students.
It sounds like he just had a positive influence on everyone he met.
No question about it. It was mentioned he was very thorough. He's a man who was caught up in detail for good reason. He knew about his students, not just how the students were performing academically, but how the students were involved in other activities and perhaps what some of their personal challenges were. That's why when they left this school or whenever they had met him, they would still call him Mr. Smith. They'd never be calling him Jim Smith, and that's something that happens with a lot of people in education, but certainly deserving of him. And you saw people of all ages here, and I think the students who are here today know something now about the man whose name appears on the Performing Arts Theater here at Laura Secord Secondary School.
Laura Secord Secondary School continues to take pride in its performing arts program. Today, they have not forgotten who started it all. In St. Catharines, reporting for The Source, I'm Brenda Schultz.